right? Because I think at the end of the day, Web3 is here to stay. I'm 100% Web3 is here to stay. If not, I would cut my dick off, right? I think this is definitely here to stay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
GM, everyone.
GM. Welcome to another GM show. Karen, how are you doing this morning?
I'm great. I'm actually back in Japan after IVS. I'm having my holiday this week. So, yeah.
And then because of our guest has the name God in his title, I thought I'd call myself the Marvel Jesus this week because next week, Deadpool Wolverine's coming out, and I think everybody's very excited about that movie, especially me finally seeing good old Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine outfit. So I'm pretty excited. Are you excited? I don't know. Is that your thing, Karen? Are you excited for Deadpool?
Yeah, I think that's my one of my favorite franchise. So really looking forward to that. And also, there's a lot of movies coming out this summer as well. So go check it out if you're free. If you don't know the GM show, though, there are the ABCs is Asia focused, builder friendly, cool vibes only, powered by Memeland, home of Captain's Potato Steakland, and you're the real MVP. My name is Karen, and I'm your co-host as well as head of social for Memeland.
Hey everybody, and I'm Casey. I'm obviously a Marvel fan, but I'm also a Web3 builder and investor. And as you all know by now, Karen and I love to talk to founders and creators and builders in Web3. We're excited to bring the show to you live from Hong Kong, where each week we chat to the hottest new projects in Web3. Yeah.
If you're excited to be here, please show off some emoji love on X, YouTube, and Twitch. We're broadcasting live right now. But I think it's most important thing is what? We need to play quick word from our chairman.
What is discussed on the GM show is not investment advice. We may or may not have ownership interests in the projects we are talking about, but this is not investment advice in any way, shape, or form. And this is not Sir David Attenborough.
All right.
I get such Jurassic Park vibes from that every time. I think they're making another one too. We're never going to get out of the Jurassic Park.
We're never.
All right. So we're back into gaming, Web3 gaming. We're into mobile gaming this week. The company we're talking to is called InfiniGods, and they are a mobile gaming studio that is building a universe of fun, free-to-play Web3 powered games centered around ancient mythologies. InfiniGods has raised $16 million to date from Pantera Capital, our friends over at Animoca Brands, Framework Ventures, and they included a recent $8 million Series A round taken entirely by Pantera. That's pretty cool. InfiniGods boasts a team of 30 deep, including vets from Meta, Scopely, Machine Zone, Zynga, Microsoft, Wolfgame, and more. Currently, they have 3 games live in market, including their flagship mobile title, King of Destiny. King of Destiny is a luck battler, same as the Monopoly Go and Coin Master, that has amassed over 500,000 installs during its soft launch. It's currently available in 177 countries in both the App Store and Google Play. It's one of the first native mobile apps to have embedded Web3 integrations, including active player-owned economy and fully abstracted marketplace experience. Let's quickly take a look at the trailer since we got it right here. Is it the right one? No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we're gonna play in a minute.
Available in 179 countries. Pretty cool. All right. Karen, who is our guest today?
Yes, he is a 25-year gaming industry veteran who's also a name investor on over 60 gaming patents. Prior to his experience founding InfiniGods, he was the founder and CEO of DGN Games, a successful casual mobile gaming company, and he grew DGN Games to be a 30 million plus top line revenue business, which was acquired by the Crown Resorts in 2015 and still exists today with offices in the US, Australia, Tel Aviv, and Ukraine. He holds a bachelor and master's degree in electrical and computer engineering from Ohio University and an MBA in innovation and entrepreneurship from Northwestern University Kellogg School of Management. He's currently living in Lakeway, Texas with his wife and 3 daughters. Please welcome to the GM Show, CEO and co-founder of InfiniGods, Damon Gura. Hi, Damon.
GM. Hi, how are you guys doing?
We're good. We're very excited to see more footage of your game. We have a lot of graphics today. So if you're watching, please stay until we show more graphics later on.
Yeah. Damon, you're in Austin. How hot is it in Austin right now?
It's well, I'll give the the Fahrenheit version of it. It's 105.
105. That's like 40 degrees Celsius. Can you cook a steak outside without a barbecue?
You can fry some eggs, cook a steak, cook yourself. As you can tell, I have no hair, so I got to be pretty careful when I go outside.
All right, awesome. Well, let's get into the interview. We asked the same questions to each week's guest to get some insight into their day-to-day life, what inspires them, and what lessons can they pass on to the next generation building in Web3. Damien, seems like you have tons of experience and tons of insight to share with us. So, Karen, let's get started. What's the first question?
Yeah, let's go to get to know you a little bit more. What's the one app on your home screen that not many people do?
That's a good question. Well, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and Lex Friedman happens to be one of my personal favorites. There are many others, but that's one I listen to a lot. And anyway, there was a recent podcast where he was talking about our favorite topic, AI. I'm sure that comes up here a lot. Anyway, one of it was the CEO of the company Perplexity, if you've heard of this.
My favorite AI company.
Yeah, so Perplexity app, I would say, is one that I don't quite often hear about my friends having on their home screen, but it's become my go-to really for anything, I would say search related, but that's almost too easy of an answer for you. You know, it's more like becomes more of a knowledge search tool. And what I really love about it is, the use cases that you don't know exist. You know, it's almost like this exploratory tool where I'll put in just some random thoughts into it, and it'll take me into these different directions that I really appreciate.
Yeah, I use that app too, and it is weird that I use that app too, and it's weird because you used to use Google to search for stuff. Now we're using this, and it's quite more advanced than just the basic Google search engine. So very interesting. Okay, cool. Next question is, what is something that has greatly influenced your life? It could be an event like a radioactive spider biting you at a young age. It could be a movie, an anime, a comic, a book. What is something that has greatly influenced your life?
Well, I have 2 answers, but I'll stick with the traditional first, and then I'll maybe go off an angle here. My traditional answer would be, in high school, I had a football coach, American football, of course, and I learned a lot through the 4 years in high school that I spent on the team. A lot of mental toughness, I would say, was maybe at the high level, what all the experiences over that 4 years, brought to me. Discipline, mental toughness, teamwork, those types of skills, which I think strangely enough, helped me a lot, even in college where I was taking electrical engineering, which is a pretty tough major. And I was in a fraternity as well, a social fraternity. And so, just balancing all those things and being able to get grades and make it through and go to get an advanced degree with a master's, I really don't think I would have been able to do it had I not had that sort of, that difficult experience. At the time, it did not feel, as valuable as I think of it today. It was probably a little bit more painful, but, I certainly look on it fondly. And I would say that my non-traditional answer was going to be, I was actually going to lead with this, but then I decided to change, would be my experiences are the things that influence my life. So, I know that's maybe too broad and too, bizarre, but, I think we are some of our experiences. And I just, the football coach is definitely one of them. And that whole experience had a major influence on me. But, it's just each I guess, decade of my life, I can think of very profound experiences that had some big influence. Like you guys were talking at the beginning of the intro with, launching DGN Games, a company that had started in 2014. That experience has also been extremely profound. So it's very hard for me to just pick one. But I see them compounding each other. I see them very complementary, and that one kind of helps in some ways the other.
Great. So you're in the game industry for a long time. Yeah. What was the best investment you ever made? And was it the game or, some other, your time, your energy, and what were the returns?
Yeah, this is an easy one for me. It's too hard not to talk about this experience. And again, I'll be maybe repeating a little bit, but when you guys introed and said that I started that DGN company in 2014, my investment in myself has been my best investment. So in that particular example, I bootstrapped the company with $25K. So that was my investment at the time. It's a bit more than that if you think about what is the true investment, because I left the company I'd been working at for 20 years. So there's that sort of loss of income investment. So I'm not really including that. I'm just kind of including the 25K. And then there also, of course, there's investment of time, et cetera. But in that experience, I started it in, it's called January of 2014, launched a game, and it would have been July of 2014. At the end of 2014, I got the Best New Games on Facebook award, which was unexpected, let's say, and welcomed. And a very small team. I literally built this product in the public library down the street from where I was living at the time, and sold the company a year to the day after I launched the product. So I launched in July, as I said, July of 2014. I sold the company in July 2015, and it was for over 1,000x on my investment for me personally. So that was a pretty awesome return in a 12-month time frame. Amazing. And I don't have anything else to point to that's close to that.
Cool.
Wow.
My next question, I'm interested to find out your answer for. Who is someone you're inspired by and why? I'd like to know. Are you inspired by the game developers, or are you inspired by something else?
I'm inspired by founders. So honestly, like having gone through that, working at a company for 20 years, which in today's world, probably most people just roll their eyes like, how's that even possible? Every resume I see now is 1 year, something like this. But working for a company for 20 years, taking that huge leap to start up your own thing, and then going through a lot of adversity. Like, I know it sounds like it was definitely an awesome financial return, but I left out a lot of pain to get there. And that's everything from trying to get your family support, and not being immediately available because they don't really understand the vision. When you're leaving a 20-year job, all the way through, people telling you you're crazy. You know, I mean, I'm in the mobile games in 2014 in the casino category, which was pretty mature at that point. So you know, me coming in, even though I had a lot of experience behind me, saying, "Yeah, I'm going to make a top game," you know, I would just get laughed at that time. And so, you know, I'm inspired by founders who go through and persevere through some really tough challenges and kind of come out the other side with victories. And I think like that really resonates with me on a lot of personal levels. And I really appreciate that. So like in particular, I'm a fan of Elon Musk and many others. I don't want to just single them out, but like you want to talk about somebody who's lived through a lot of adversity. He definitely has with his various companies and just, I don't know, I listen to a lot of audiobooks and I consume a lot of information about founders and their struggles. And, you know, his early SpaceX struggle definitely resonates with me, where the first 3 rockets, I don't know if you guys know the story, you probably do, but the first 3 rockets failed. And then the company was basically bankrupt. He had one final shot. I mean, he had poured in lots of millions of his own dollars into it, probably personally close to bankruptcy as well at that point. And then on the 4th launch, you know, it was successful. You know, and I can't imagine actually, like having gone through the struggles, and not on that same level and order of magnitude for sure, but, you know, in my own life and entrepreneurial career, you know, it's, you get some pretty dark days, you know, and so how do you make it through a failure? Okay. And then the second rocket, oh, yeah, that's not working either. And then the third one, no, didn't do it. It was really close though. You know, I mean, man, that just, I feel for him. You know, that must have been a difficult time.
Is there a specific game person though that you may have looked up to? You know, a lot of people from Austin, John Romero, you know, from Texas.
Yeah,
like
I do.
a god to a lot of people.
Yeah. Romero and Carmack, you know,
Yeah.
I guess Carmack on the tech side and Romero on the design side. Definitely, you know, again, I'm inspired by a lot of different people. It's really, I picked on Elon, but it really spans the gamut. And for sure, Carmack and Romero are legends in the gaming space. And, you know, you'd be hard pressed, I guess, to find a better gaming story than they have, and certainly is inspiring on many levels to me as well. I mean, even like Zuckerberg too, you know, social, you know, creating Facebook. You know, I'm deeply inspired by that. You know, I do pull inspiration from a lot of different areas.
Cool.
Yeah, I also remember back in the day where Facebook game was crazy. It was like the 2014, 2010. Those days were all about Facebook games.
So by the way, in 2014, that game, DGN Games, my game started on Facebook, on Facebook's Canvas platform, which was their desktop platform. You know, and I was actually in Adobe Flash. If anyone even remembers that.
Of course, we're not that young. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I'm just thinking some of your listeners maybe like, what is that? Yeah,
that's true. They're pretty young.
Seriously, it was pretty like the golden days of like Facebook gaming to me, like social gaming. It was crazy. It was great. That was even before Candy Crush. Anyways, what is the one conventional wisdom that you disagree with? Because like leaving a 20-year job and then doing something new, is this something you know?
That's the conventional wisdom. Don't leave your 20-year job.
Yeah, well, my wife would agree with that. She doesn't anymore, but at the beginning, she would agree with that. Yeah, so yeah, it's funny you say that. Don't leave your 20-year job. That's a good one. That's probably an easy one to pick on. But I have thought about this a little bit, and I would say honestly that there's a conventional wisdom. Being good at multitasking is actually a good thing.
Okay.
I would disagree with that. I think it actually is the opposite. At least for me, in my experience, it's been, you know, the more I actually focus on a particular activity and give it my full thought, the more, successful I am at the goal of whatever that activity is. And I feel like when especially as the CEO, lots of things, lots of balls you kind of have to juggle. And so, I do have a list of those things that need to be attended to, but I try to give each one of those items, the proper focus. And I think that has helped me. Whereas in the past, I would say when I was a bit younger, I probably would be more fragmented, and just giving little bits of energy to things. And I'm happier now than I was then.
Cool. All right. And I'm sure over the years, founders have come up to you and asked you for advice. So but this is a specific question about Web3. What is one piece of advice you would give to a first-time founder entering into Web3 in 2024? Since the market's been up and down since we've been doing the show for about a year now. And you've seen a lot of, you've seen the Farmvilles, you've seen the Candy Crushes, now you're seeing this. What's kind of advice would you give out to somebody who want to get into Web3 gaming, I guess, specifically?
I probably would give the same advice to any founder, regardless of whether they were getting into Web3 or not. Just based on my experience, if you believe in what you're doing, you really have to be your own biggest fan, because you're just going to run into a lot of shit. I don't care if it's an industry that's up only or an industry that's flat, an industry that's mature, an industry that's new. I mean, even if you're you put out a product and your product starts to grow exponentially, that can actually be very difficult. It sounds like an awesome outcome. Okay, great. Well, you know what? Good luck scaling that fast. Good luck hiring people, okay? Because you can have a great strategy, and when people show up and you have to manage them, it's a whole different ballgame. That strategy is going to change. So, there's going to be dark times, you're going to maybe lose faith in yourself or you're not going to get a lot of support at a certain point, and you're really going to have to dig deep and, believe in yourself and push through that. And I think that would be my overall, guidance, to anyone in Web3, especially, but, really any other founding situation.
Okay, cool.
So being in the gaming industry and now also a founder, have you had anyone that given you a worst piece of advice you ever received?
Yeah. So there's so many worst pieces of advice. I'm a little bit older now, so I've got a lot of bad advice. But a silly example, although it's true, is when I was in middle school, 7th grade, we had to take a questionnaire. Everyone was in the public school system in Ohio, in the U.S. And we had to take a questionnaire, which output of which was, what is the occupation you're most likely to succeed in? So I was excited about this, wow, I can't wait to see what it is, and at the end of it, it said social worker. And while I have nothing against any social workers, I admire what they do, that would not have been the right fit for me. So I think that was a pretty bad, piece of advice from that. But in general, I appreciate when people tell me I can't do something. I know that maybe that sounds strange, but even though that may sound like bad advice, it's actually it has the reverse effect on me. It makes me actually more resilient and determined to do whatever it is they said I couldn't do.
Okay, great.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you might need some social working skills to run a company.
Yeah, well, that's true. With employees, you need psychological skills and everything else, human resource skills. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got that locked down. You have
that's
that.
True. That's true.
All right. Next question, as we get into the business side of things, how did you get into Web3?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I was running that DGN Games company. I'd sold in 2015. I was in this 5-year earnout component or phase of the project, which was a bit non-traditional. It was mostly 2 years at the time. I took the longer one because I wanted to build a bigger, more sustainable thing in the end. And I thought the 2-year version of that would just be too fast. Anyway, at the end of that, which would have put me at 2020, I was starting to think, what's next? I was pretty focused on DGN during those 5 years leading to 2020. So I wasn't really paying too much attention to crypto at the time. But towards the end of it, when I'm getting nearer to the 2020, call it 21 timeline, I started really paying attention to that space and following Axie Infinity and NFTs in general and what are they, and just doing some exploration and research myself. With my technical background, I just get a kick out of researching different things, regardless of whether I end up doing anything in there or not. And I started to think, light bulbs started to go off for me. Like, okay, Web 2 sucks right now. This is in 2020. I'm thinking I would never start a Web 2 gaming company again. Cost of acquiring users was way too high. You'd have to be a bit short of crazy to do it, and even if you catch fire on a game, it's so difficult to make that work long term, to scale it. There's so much competition. People copy everything left and right. You have a good game, it'll be copied in a week. It's just really challenging. And then I thought, you know what? I've been in this, the mature side of the space, gone in at 2014 in DGN games, but I've never been in sort of the early stages, or call it the beginnings of a gaming sector. And I thought, in Web 3, it must be true that with digital asset ownership and some other things I'm sure we'll get into, that you can increase the users or the consumer's lifetime value over what it would have been without Web 3. And so, and that's really that's the simplest equation for a successful gaming company. If LTV is greater than acquiring a user, then you're good. Thumbs up. The business is going to work. And so I just believe that there were ways, using Web3 components or technologies, or however you want to think of it, to increase that LTV. And that's what sort of excited me. It's like, I want to be at this, the early innings now, instead of the late innings, which had their own challenges.
So when you look into the NFT side, like, you get any of your NFT, the first NFT, what did you get? And did you learn anything from it? And do you still own it?
Yeah, so I own most of my stuff, but probably because I bought it at the height of the bull market when I was coming into the space. But no, so DGN Games, a lot of people think it's my initials, Damon Gura, which it kind of is. I've told people Damon Gura Networks, but the truth is the name comes from DGen, like a degenerate player or gambler, however you want to think of it. I just shortened it to DGN, and I thought it'd be really smart because it's my initials in there too. So my point in saying that is that I like to degen into a space before I get into it, and so as I'm raising for the seed round and thinking of Web3 and getting into that space, I was buying everything I could get my hands on, so when I think of my first NFTs, like, there's so many, the one that stands out is a very early one to me. So I, at the time, was listening to an audiobook by Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah. And so I started researching VFriends and looking at that. And this was before he had started VCon and any of those things. So anyway, I got some Series 1 VFriends. And actually one of the particular one that I was fond of at the time was a gift goat. So the Series 1 gift goat, which gives you these gifts over the course of so many years, 3 years or so. That was one that sticks out. And I learned a lot from that, actually. I got that on purpose because I wanted to see, that seems such an interesting concept to me, that you could get an NFT that gives you these IRLs and digital assets and other things, if you guys are familiar with that particular one. Sure. But it also gives you, the VF1s gave you access, free admission to each one of the VCons. Yeah. And so, you know, it was like the education that kept on giving. I went to the first 2 VCons. There's only been 2 so far. The third one's coming up this year. And actually we started, you know, InfiniGods, we raised early 22. The first VCon, I think, was May of 22, if I remember right. And so we actually had, InfiniGods had our first launch party, you know, post-raise at VCon, at the first VCon. We had rented a bar and invited a bunch of people that were there, Web3 folks. And so, yeah, it was a gift that's kept on giving to me in a variety of different ways, I would say. And I do still own like I said at the beginning, I still own that, and I still own a lot of others.
Amazing. Okay, so the next question we're going to ask, it's there's a lot of commentary on Web3 crypto, especially in the US. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you get this debate amongst your non-Web3 friends. But the question is, what is one misconception about Web3 that you would personally like to change?
I mean, you really set it up well for me, because I'll tell you, amongst my friends, I have to be very careful about how I describe what I do. And I know it sounds strange, but like, there's a pretty negative connotation to crypto, at least in the US. And, you know, it's really associated with criminals, I suppose, you know, and maybe maybe I'm being a little bit too negative on it, but I've had some pretty interesting conversations, even with close people I know. So, you know, I think once I kind of walk them through, you know, what I'm trying to do in the space, and no, it's not really all criminals, you know, I tend to win them over at some point, at least enough so where the attitude isn't so negative. But I think, you know, just in general, changing that association, I think is something I'd love to at least contribute in some positive way towards.
Okay, so let's get into the serious project business section. So what are you building right now? Can you talk to us a little bit more? What's the latest update? What are you focusing on?
Yeah, sure. So you guys did a great job with an intro of InfiniGods and kind of who we are and building games on the mythological IP. I really love the idea of using open source IP. It's kind of a point that isn't really brought up a lot. But, you know, people in gaming in the past have done a lot of licensing and used brands in a variety of different ways. But there are brands that you can use or leverage on top of IP that already exists. And I think mythology to me is just so great because it's got just really sort of regional, affiliation for people. They really appreciate like Greek mythology or Norse or Egyptian, and you see, here we go. And you see some of it represented here. We have 3 games, as you guys mentioned, but the one that I'm going to focus on is the one we're really pushing hard on, which is our mobile first title, King of Destiny. And like you said at the beginning, it is in that luck battle category, which is probably it's for sure one of the highest monetizing categories in Web2 mobile. You don't have to look far past Monopoly Go, who was heavily inspired by the game Coin Master, who was heavily inspired by the OG version of Luck Battle, which is Pirate Kings is the original one that was made, which nobody really even knows about now because those other 2 titles really took the crown. But I really like this category. I think it appeals to me from my background, casino background. I think there's some elements in it that, play towards a good playthrough experience for people who like that kind of simple, casual play experience. And then the interesting thing was, okay, we have mythology, we have a great category. How do we integrate Web3 bits into this in a way that, even people in the US that have that crypto equals criminals attitude, can even appreciate. And I think you do that by abstractions. You really need to abstract away all those crypto details. Truly, the customer doesn't need to know anyway, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know when I'm playing a game if it's on the Azure cloud or the Amazon cloud or anything else, and nor should, and I think it should be the same at some point anyway. With blockchain technology, I should just know that, oh, I truly own this asset. I can transact it or trade it in a marketplace. And so that's what we're creating with this game. And the picture here is talking about Fate. It's actually one of our in-game currencies. It's the one that actually is player owned. And what that means is we do source it from winning in-game tournaments. We'll give you Fate. You can win Fate. And through like completing quests, things like this, you can win Fate. But we don't sell it. InfiniGods doesn't sell Fate. The only place you can actually get Fate besides the in-game activities is through our marketplace. You can bundle Fate into a ERC 1155, which again shouldn't matter to anybody. It's just a technical piece. Into a piggy bank is really what it is, and you can trade that to other players. Then you open the piggy bank and retrieve the Fate from that bank. Right. There's lots of other crypto rails in there too, but that's one of the main ones. And I think it starts to represent an interesting divergence from a more traditional, call it Web 2 experience.
Great.
Yeah. So you guys are also launching God. So how does that all work into one ecosystem?
Yeah, so we partnered with the Valhalla Foundation, and the angle there, not the angle, the site is valhallafoundation.xyz. They've announced that they're launching God Token. We're their launch partner, and we think God is quite a perfect name for the company and what we're trying to represent. And we think there's a bright future for the token and how that would work within our ecosystem. We've always believed in InfiniGods, and I have plenty of examples to illustrate it, but we've always believed that we're not going to do anything until there's a utility associated with it. So we're not going to launch an NFT collection unless you can use it in game somehow. We're not going to talk about a gaming product until it's ready to go live. And so we expect at the launch of the God token to have utility day one across multiple areas.
Have you had any pushback from any Christian groups? Just kidding.
Not yet, but let's see.
Let's see what happens. All right, because you're in Texas, especially. All right. Okay, yeah. So you really love mythology. You love gaming. So I can kind of guess this. But why did you start this game specifically in Web 3 with all your experience in Web 2? Obviously, the trend is going there, but you wouldn't believe it with a lot of the other game companies. I mean, I hear from game companies they are doing it, and then you hear from other games they're not doing it. Obviously, there's a regulation issue in the U.S., so let's assume that is the issue. That everybody does want to do it, and it's just a regulatory issue. But why did you want to do it specifically?
There's a lot to unpack there. I'll start with the me specific part. So again, at the end of my 2020, I'm coming off the heels of my final earnout check, basically from DGN Games, thinking what's next. My wife's saying you should retire, and I'm saying, you know what? I don't know if I want to just. I need to be busy. Otherwise, I'll probably get sitting on a beach drinking a bunch of margaritas, which at some point will be too not quite as fun as it sounds. So I really wanted to get into something else, and I thought, I've got a lot of years in gaming built up. I've got all this experience. I was running an international team, really all over the world. Honestly, from you talked about it at the beginning in the intro, but it was across 5 countries. I was flying all the time, dealing with all kinds of, HR related issues, as we even talked about a little bit, and thought, man, it just doesn't feel right to let that to just stop, with all that experience. And so, as I was saying, I was doing research into NFTs and looking at Axie and thinking, I think there's a real brand new industry happening right now. And there can't be a ton of people with the experience I have, that should be an advantage. I mean, who knows, things can still fail, but, it should be an advantage. And I just couldn't resist the temptation of, a whole new kind of gaming vertical happening or opening up right in front of my eyes, along with sort of global finance changing in parallel. Just was too tempting to me on too many fronts to kind of sit on the sidelines and not jump in head first and try to do something unique.
Great.
Okay, so with this new journey, I guess, like in going into Web3, what's the one lesson you learned so far building this project that is different from the ones you had before, or like from the Web2 side of the story?
Well, there's a lot of recurring themes in when you're doing entrepreneurship. You're always going to have people problems. You're always going to need to be good at sales and HR and technology, especially if it's a technology related industry that you're in. So it's difficult to get the right team together, I would say, is always the first challenge. You think you might have it, and then you realize over time that you need to change some things around, you need to pivot. And but the other side of it is that it always, in Web3 specifically, I thought more infrastructure was there. So yes, you could have this great idea. I want to create a game and abstract away all the crypto, for example, to get rid of the stigma when new users come into the game and they don't know anything about it. They just associate it with criminals. There was discussion of, frameworks and APIs and all these other things that could help facilitate that, only to find out, well, that's not quite there yet, and I would say it's only really started to come to a point where it's mature enough for us to integrate in and create a product like King of Destiny that has a lot of these things in it. I would say in the last 6 months, and really those technology developments are improving every day. And so, that was a little bit of a surprise to me, and something that, I felt took a little bit longer than I would have expected it to, but I also understand, the difficulties and the challenges, on the tech side.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Here's the big question a lot of listeners are waiting for. What is the alpha? You hear that? They start turning on the show again.
Yeah. So I mentioned before that, we partner with the Valhalla Foundation. The site is valhallafoundation.xyz. I would encourage all the listeners to go there. We have partnered with over 50 projects, very well-known projects in the space. There are missions, a mission system when you get to that site and you actually authenticate. There's a mission system that's pretty easy to complete the missions and doesn't take a lot of time. You can literally just go there, connect your wallet, and in less than 30 seconds earn a lot of Thunder, which is the points currency that's in the mission system. And the more points you have, the better, and should be somewhat proportional to a allocation. So I would say that's sort of the very easy ask. And of course the listeners can learn a lot more about the ecosystem there too. But if they're a holder of any of these 50 plus partner NFTs, it really is a 30-second or less activity to start to get in and engage with the ecosystem. We do have 2 pass collections. There we have InfiniPass and Elder Gods. They're ETH-based collections. Those will be rewarded at a higher rate than the partner collections, as you might expect. So, do whatever you want with that advice, but those are some things that I think would be helpful.
All right, very cool.
Okay, so let's go into the last question. I think being a game industry veteran for so many years, like what do you see in the future of the gaming industry in Web3?
I think the gaming industry of Web3 becomes the gaming industry. I don't think there's a difference really. In fact, we even talk about it internally now. We've removed Web3 gamers. We removed the Web3 part of that, that statement. It's just gamers. And how are we even think about like, this is exactly how we talk about it. How are we providing more value to gaming customers by using the technology, tools in the Web3 tool chest? And so I think that that distinguishment between a Web 2 and a Web 3 gamer will just drop. And we'll just be talking about, hey, did you see this new cool feature? You can take this fade and put it in a piggy bank. And oh man, I made $100 off of that last week. That's so cool. And, I probably played for 10 minutes, those types of stories. I just don't see how, if you put two of the exact same product next to each other, one of them has, let's call it some of these Web3 mechanics, marketplace, digital asset ownership, stuff like this, and one doesn't. Why would you play the one that doesn't? I just don't understand. I just fundamentally can't get across in my mind why I would just shy away from that. So I think over time, and I can't predict exactly what the timeline looks like, it'll just be a complete takeover.
Have you seen this hamster combat?
I have, yeah.
So it's crazy. It's taken over a lot of people. Even Iran wants to get rid of it because it's so popular there. They think it's some kind of soft power, American soft power attacking their country. Yeah. Gaming was on console, PC, moved to mobile.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I mean, we're in Hong Kong, so we see WeChat, has this kind of functionality. Yeah. Telegram is now taking over, putting games inside. Animoca, one of your investors, of course, invested in gaming. They also doing a lot of stuff inside Telegram and playing games.
Pantera's the largest Pantera investment. They're our seed. They took our full Series A. Their largest investments in ton.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So there you go. It's all connected. So is that where you guys are going as well?
I'll say that it looks very interesting right now.
Okay.
There are some detail in there. It's like HTML5 games versus like native app, and there are some like technical details in making sure that our content sort of seamlessly transfers between the different platforms. In the end, you want to be in every distribution channel you can get into, and certainly Telegram is a very exciting new channel, and I think it reminds a little bit of the Facebook Instant games, if you guys remember that.
True.
And some of those early instant games got crazy virality, and I suspect we're going to see a similar with the newer titles on Telegram, and certainly that's attractive to us on a lot of levels.
Is it easier to develop for a game inside Telegram than maybe a standalone app in the App Store?
You just have to think about what experience you want to create. I don't think a complex experience in Telegram is going to work for a variety of reasons right now. So I think you'd want, very brief, you could even use it as a funnel, right? You could have your bigger experience on, call it a native app or something like this, and just use Telegram as a snippet, as an acquisition tool that to then funnel users to the larger, to your bigger application. And you can maybe just have like almost a mini game. I think mini games, that kind of short form experiential piece would do quite well there.
Nice.
I'm having flashbacks of Facebook game notification. If that's Telegram, that will be another
Karen, I want to play a game with you right now.
Exactly. So all these invites back in the day, but let's see. Telegram is going to be another.
I get enough notifications from Telegram. I don't need gaming notifications now on this thing. It's going to drive people crazy.
Yeah, if you get Toncoin, you might not mind.
Oh, that's good. I'd like to get Karen whenever she texts me on Telegram. I want some coins as well.
Yeah,
exactly. If that turns into something that is,
that would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to farm every Telegram contact I have.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? That would be crazy.
Thank you so much, Damon,
Damon,
for
thank you.
coming on to the show today. We learned a lot. And please follow Infinite Guru, InfiniGods, and check out their next updates. And follow GM Show Official. And we'll see you again next week.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Amen.